Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. If you keep blowing it up, I'll be truly invincible. Chapter 71. Shang Ying is not a good person. This is the first thought in the hearts of many inner disciples present. Boom. There was a loud bang. When Shang Ying came in front of Su Chen, his heavy feet instantly crushed the floor tiles under his feet, and his vigorous blood stirred up a gust of wind. Qi Si Realm 7th Stage. Shang Ying looked Su Chen up and down with his tiger eyes, with disdain in his eyes and a contemptuous tone. It seems that the three dark creatures are nothing more than that. As soon as these words came out, many inner disciples present were immediately angered. On the surface, his words were mocking Su Chen. But in fact, he was mocking all the disciples who participated in the inner sect assessment that day. Yu Zhongfeng, who was following Su Chen, was extremely angry when he heard the words, and stepped forward to reprimand Shang Ying. But Su Chen stopped him with his hand. Su Chen looked calm, quietly watching Shang Ying, who was like a hill in front of him, without any change in the expression on his face, and said lightly, "Are you here to sign up too?" "That's right." When Shang Ying heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up slightly, revealing a sneering sneer, and said, "It turns out that I haven't participated in the core discipline trial for 15 years, because they are all too weak, and no one can raise the interest of letting me make a move. Until I heard about it 2 days ago, someone killed 3 dark creatures in the Qi Si realm, so they should be very powerful. But when I saw you today, I was a little disappointed. If you want to challenge me, just say it, don't talk so much nonsense." Su Chen glanced at him, then turned to look at the disciple in charge of registration, and said, "Please trouble me to change my first opponent tomorrow to him." Just as he was worrying about how to use the system to improve his own strength in this core assessment, he didn't expect someone to come to his door in the blink of an eye. Faced with such a good thing delivered to his door, Su Chen naturally couldn't refuse. After all, reaching out doesn't hit smiling people. Hearing this, other people still have a few reactions in the future. But Shang Ying's complexion suddenly changed. Having been in the inner sect for 20 years, he is very familiar with the rules of the core discipline assessment. Under normal circumstances, more than a dozen or 20 inner sect addresses sign up for the core discipline assessment every year. If someone loses in the first round, it is equivalent to missing this year's core discipline. After all, ranked bottom, no matter how high the cultivation base is, it is impossible to become a core discipline. Therefore, when signing up, many people will find ways to bribe the disciples in charge of registration, and ask them to help arrange a weaker disciple for themselves. But Su Chen didn't play according to the routine. On the contrary, he was going to fight Shang Ying as soon as he came up. That is, this year, one of the two of them is doomed to completely miss the position of core disciple. "You are fine." Shang Ying's grin disappeared. Instead, there was endless gloom, and he struggled to squeeze out 3 words from between his teeth. He wanted to play well with Su Chen, but he never thought of playing against Su Chen in the first game. Isn't he afraid that after fighting against himself, the spirit power will be consumed too much and let others take advantage? Su Chen glanced at him lightly, and said lightly, "If you're afraid, just say it, it's too late to regret it now." After practicing Xuanling Jinshenju, Realm broke through again to Qi Si Realm 7th Stage. Su Chen happened to find an opponent to try his own strength. Unexpectedly, this Shang Ying rushed forward. The cultivation base of Qi Si Realm 9th Stage should be able to catch the 2 moves of own, right? Su Chen took another look at Shang Ying, and then left the square without stopping any longer. With Su Chen's departure, the whole square exploded in an instant. Wait, did I hear correctly just now? Brother Su Chen is going to fight Shang Ying tomorrow. Shang Ying is finished. Senior brother Su Chen has stepped into the Forbidden Realm in the Qi Gathering Realm and defeated 3 dark creatures. His strength is extremely terrifying. I'm afraid Shang Ying is no match for him. Shang Ying is asking for trouble. You know, when defeating the 3 dark creatures, senior brother Su Chen is no more than Qi Si Realm 4th Stage. It can't be said that, after all, Shang Ying has been in the inner sect for 20 years and settled in the Qi Si realm for 20 years, while senior brother Su Chen has only entered the Qi Si realm for a month. There is a big gap between the two. Quote, "That's right, although senior brother Su Chen is invincible at the same rank, Shang Ying's strength should not be underestimated either. He has spent almost all these years in life and death battles. The structure of the younger brother is small. Strength is not defined by life and death battles and the length of training time. Senior brother Su Chen has stepped into a forbidden realm in the Qi gathering realm. The same rank is invincible, and it is not bragging. Look at Shang Ying, why is she standing there motionless? Could it be that she is afraid to sign up? Ha ha ha, I think so too. After all, it's a small thing to become a core disciple. If you lose to senior brother Su Chen, you'll be ashamed. Hey, I thought I'd see a great battle tomorrow, but I didn't expect someone to give up first. What a pity, what a pity. Quote. Listening to the discussions around her, Shang Ying's face turned ashen. As these inner disciplines said, whether he can become a core discipline has no effect on him. After all, his strength lies here. Anyway, he has been in the inner sect for 20 years, and he will not miss a year or two. Besides, he didn't want to be a core disciple at all. But the problem is, if he really loses to Su Chen, then he will really lose face in the future. He has only joined the inner sect for less than a month, but he has been in the inner sect for a full 20 years. With such a big gap, I can't even beat Su Chen, and I really have no face to stay in Tai Xuanzong from now on. Shang Ying, are you still signing up? The inner disciple who was in charge of the registration said in an indifferent tone with an unhappy expression. Although his strength is not as good as Shang Ying's, he is not afraid of him at all. After all, the status of the two is equal now. Everyone is an inner disciple. It is normal to call you brother when you are in a good mood and ignore you when you are in a bad mood. Shang Ying looked at the direction where Su Chen was leaving, gritted her teeth, and said in a deep voice. Sign me up. Here's your number plate. The inner disciple who was in charge of the registration quickly completed the registration, and then threw a jade plate with the number 20 on it to Shang Ying. Snort. Shang Ying caught the jade tablet, glanced at him coldly, snorted coldly, turned around and left quickly. Originally, Shang Ying wanted to give Su Chen a blow before the competition. Unexpectedly, he didn't succeed in getting off his horse, but instead put himself in. He wouldn't naively think that the person who stepped into the taboo realm in the Qi gathering realm and then defeated 3 dark creatures in a row in the Qi Sea realm would be weak. The reason why he said so provocatively was just to annoy Su Chen. After all, people who have lost their minds are the easiest to beat. But the current situation is completely opposite to what he expected. At this moment, Shang Ying has become the one who can't get off the tiger. If Su Chen can't be defeated cleanly tomorrow, I'm afraid he will become the laughingstock of Tai Xuanzong. Su Chen is just Qi Sea Realm 7th stage, and I am already Qi Sea Realm 9th stage, and I have been cultivating in this realm for decades. There is a 10-year gap between us. Even though Su Chen stepped into the Forbidden Realm in Qi Gathering Realm, the environment may not be my opponent. Shang Ying comforted herself in this way. Apart from this kind of comforting words, he didn't know what to do at the moment. Many inner disciples looked at Shang Ying's leaving back and talked about it. Shang Ying has really signed up. There will be a good show tomorrow. Why do I feel that senior brother Su Chen's chances of winning are not too great? After all, Shang Ying has been in the Qi Sea Realm 9th stage for decades, and he also possesses the cultivation technique and martial skill of the Earth level. Earth level cultivation technique and martial skill. So what? Don't forget, senior brother Su Chen has quite a few Earth level cultivation techniques and martial skills. Just the outer sect trial alone has harvested an Earth level cultivation technique and 2 Earth level martial skills. Because they saved us half a month ago, they were rewarded with an Earth level medium grade cultivation technique. I've also heard about this, but then, do you think he can cultivate those 2 Earth level martial skills to great completion in such a short period of time? Or is it return to origin? Why not? At this moment, an excited voice sounded from the crowd. As soon as these words came out, the crowd suddenly fell into silence. Everyone looked towards the place where the sound came from. I see. An inner disciple in a white robe appeared with a group of outer sect disciples. The inner disciple standing at the front is Duan Cheng. And behind him stood Cao Yun, He Jing and many juniors and juniors. They all rushed to help after hearing that Shang Ying was provoking Su Chen. But when they got to the place, they found that Su Chen and Shang Ying had already left. Just as they left disappointed and prepared to watch the match tomorrow, they noticed that someone here questioned the strength of senior brother Su Chen. As Su Chen's staunchest supporters, they naturally couldn't tolerate it. Outer sect disciple. An inner disciple glanced at the dark-eyed crowd, frowned slightly, and said in displeasure, "This is the inner sect, not your outer sect. Disciples can come, so hurry back." The other inner disciples also looked at them with displeasure upon hearing the words. Standing behind Duan Cheng, Cao Yun calmly took a step forward, took out a jade tablet from the storage ring, shook it, and said, "We have the jade token to thank the elder, and we can temporarily stay in the inner sect for an hour." Cao Yun specially went to the outer sect elder's great hall to ask Xie elder for this jade medal, just to deal with this kind of situation. The inner disciple who spoke earlier fell silent when he saw the jade tablet. Seeing that the inner disciples present fell silent, Cao Yun put away the jade plaque casually, then scanned them around, and said slowly, "Brother Su Chen stepped into the Forbidden Realm in the Qi Gathering Realm, and at the same time cultivated a top-ranked martial skill to return to origin. Everyone has heard of these things, so I won't mention them. Let's just talk about what happened half a month ago. When dark creatures invaded, senior brother Su Chen stepped forward and killed 3 Qi Si Realm dark creatures in a row. It took only half a month to step into the Qi Si Realm 4th stage. Mysterious top rank broken star sword art has been cultivated to return to origin, such a talent, who is comparable in the entire inner sect. It's been half a month now, and senior brother Su Chen has been practicing closed-door training. It shouldn't be difficult for him to cultivate a mid-level earth-level martial skill to great completion, right?" Cao Yun's expression was as usual, and his tone was indifferent. Brother Su Chen's talent is rare in ancient times. Not to mention that he has cultivated 2 earth-level martial skills to great completion, but it is more than enough to cultivate 1 earth-level martial skill to great completion. He Jing raised her immature face and looked at the many inner disciples present. Without any timidity, she said in a crisp voice. Her admiration for Su Chen and the love between men and women have already reached the point of losing her mind. Now that someone questions Su Chen, even if it is an inner discipline, she is not afraid at all. Junior sister He Jing is right. It is very easy for Tianzhao who can step into the Forbidden Realm in the Qi Gathering Realm to cultivate a martial skill to great completion. Not bad. Senior brother Su Chen is talent Wushwang. It's not difficult to cultivate a martial skill to great completion. Quote. As soon as He Jing spoke, the rest of the outer sect disciples also spoke. They have all witnessed Su Chen's terrifying talent with their own eyes. In their eyes, Su Chen is a peerless evildoer that is rare to meet in 10,000 years. They are completely die-hard fans, and they all agree that Su Chen can recruit a talent within this month. Ground-level martial skill cultivated to great completion. And the biggest beneficiary of this war of words, Su Chen, was sitting cross-legged on the bed with a dazed expression. Because, the virtual panel in front of him jumped out again. Arbitrary mid-level martial skill great completion, 1/300. Arbitrary mid-level martial skill great completion, 2/300. As soon as the virtual panel appeared, the numbers jumped at an extremely fast speed. It should be that there is a brain supplement maniac haunting the registration office to brag. Looking at the virtual panel in front of him, Su Chen immediately thought of the many inner disciplines at the core discipline registration office. Most of those inner disciples were saved by him, so it's not too strange for them to brag about it. Glancing at the rapidly increasing virtual panel, Su Chen closed it casually and continued to practice with his eyes closed. At the same time, Qingshu Peak, Cao Yun, He Jing and others are still bragging. Most inner disciples agree with their words very much. In fact, the main reason for this phenomenon is that Su Chen stepped forward half a month ago and defeated the 3 dark creatures consecutively, establishing a high degree of trust in their hearts. They were also convinced by Su Chen. At this moment, they all agree with the words of Cao Yun and others from the bottom of their hearts. But so what? Senior brother Shang Ying is a strong man in the Qi Si Realm 9th stage, and he has been cultivating in the Qi Si Realm 9th stage for more than 10 years. His strength is unfathomable, and he may even have stepped half of his foot into the Forbidden Realm. Listen to you, senior brother Su Chen didn't pass the Qi Si Realm 4th stage half a month ago. Even if he is talent Wushwang, I don't believe he can break through the Qi realm 9th stage within half a month. The inner disciple who first questioned Su Chen blushed and spoke again, trying to save some face from realm. Qi realm 9th stage. Senior brother Su Chen really couldn't break through the 5th stage realm in a row in half a month, but he achieved the feat of breaking through the 4th stage realm for 15 days as early as half a month ago. With senior brother Su Chen's peerless talent, it should be normal to break through the 4th stage realm for half a month and step into the Qi realm 8th stage in one fell swoop, right? At this moment, Zhang Feng, who was leading the way for Su Chen, suddenly spoke. Originally, Cao Yun was about to refute, but Zhang Feng took the lead. When Cao Yun heard the words, he swallowed the words that came to his lips, and looked at Zhang Feng with a touch of friendliness in his eyes. This senior brother is good. Like-minded people. Night covers the land. In the small courtyard of Inner Sect. The characters on the virtual panel in front of Su Chen's eyes were still beating. Any mid-tier martial skill grade completion, 298 300ths. Open black lens bracket breakthrough to Qi realm 8th stage, 298 300ths close black lens bracket. Any mid-tier martial skill grade completion, 299 300ths. Open black lens bracket breakthrough to Qi realm 8th stage, 299 300ths close black lens bracket. Any mid-tier martial skill grade completion, 300 300ths. Open black lens bracket breakthrough to Qi realm 8th stage, 300 300ths close black lens bracket. At this moment, Su Chen is staring at the virtual panel, looking forward to it. I am looking forward to the power of the great completion level mid-level martial skill. Both progress bars are full at the same time. Immediately afterwards, a mysterious light cluster appeared in his mind. Boom! A roar came from Su Chen's body. Suddenly the room was filled with light, the Qi in his body was shaken suddenly, and the endless world spiritual Qi poured into his body. The endless divine brilliance is golden, illuminating the entire room. The majestic spirit power slipped away from Su Chen's body, causing his body to undergo earth-shaking changes. However, Su Chen just closed his eyes slightly, feeling the strength of Qi realm 8th stage, and then focused on the mysterious light cluster. For him at this moment, the great completion level martial skill is the most important thing. Su Chen felt the mysterious light cluster in his mind, and after observing it carefully, he murmured. I have 2 mid-level earth-level martial skills, is this for me to choose? There are a total of 2 martial skills that Su Chen comprehended from the mysterious steel, both of which are mid-tier earth ranks. A raging wave with thousands of waves, and a red flame streamer slashing. The former is domineering and fierce, like the waves of the sea, and the first stage is stronger than the first stage. The latter is the same as Broken Star Slash, the main focus is an explosion. Then choose Qian Luguang Slash, it can be kept as a trump card. After Su Chen pondered over and over again, he finally chose Kai Yan Luguang Slash. Accompanied by the slight movement of his mind, the mysterious light cluster in his mind also stood at this moment and turned into a profound spiritual understanding. Su Chen closed his eyes slightly, carefully comprehending the practice of Kai Yan's popular slash. After a long time, he slowly opened his eyes were burning, he looked at the void in front of him, and murmured in a low voice. As expected of an earth-level mid-tier martial skill, with this great completion Scarlet Flame Meteor Slash, my current strength has more than doubled. Afterwards, Su Chen came to the small courtyard, and with the help of the silvery moonlight, he evolved the Qian Pop Slash. Speechless all night. The next day, just after dawn, the entire Qingshu Peak was crowded with people. Except for the inner disciple who was performing tasks outside, all the rest of the inner disciples were present. Many outer sect disciples also came. It took only 1 month for Su Chen to become an inner disciple. In such a short period of time, after completing 2 consecutive jumps, he would suddenly become a core disciple from an outer sect address. With this speed alone, he has almost become a legend in the minds of all outer sect disciples. In the crowd, Cao Yun, He Jing and other familiar outer sect disciples stood impressively. Many disciples were discussing and expressing their opinion on who they think will become the core disciple this year. Just when many disciples were talking about it, on a high platform, a figure in green robe suddenly appeared. With his appearance, the entire Qingshu Peak fell silent instantly. I announce that Tai Xuanzong's core discipline competition this year will start now. The rules are the same as in previous years. Killers are not allowed, and the one who gets out of the ring first will be considered a failure. The first match, Su Chen vs. Shang Ying. The elder in Qingpao acted resolutely, without too much nonsense, directly announced the start of the competition. Say it. He turned around and came to the edge of the high platform, but did not leave directly. Because many disciples tend to lose control of themselves when they attack with all their strength, and if things go wrong, people will die. Therefore, it is very important to have an elder on the side at this time. It's coming. It's finally about to start. In previous years, this duel should be the finale. I didn't expect it to be the first match this year. It's really exciting. Hee. Shang Ying crazily provoked senior brother Su Chen yesterday, but today I want to see how he ends up. A mediocre talent who has cultivated in the inner sect for 20 years dares to challenge a genius who has stepped into the forbidden realm in the Qi-gathering realm. I really don't know who gave him the confidence. A monstrosity like senior brother Su Chen is not just about cultivating fast. Speaking of which, although senior brother Su Chen's strength and talent are top-notch, it's a bit of a disadvantage against Shang Ying in the first match, right? Even if he wins, I'm afraid it will hurt his vitality. Yeah, will this make others take advantage of it? No, since senior brother Su Chen dared to face Shang Ying in the first match, he must have confidence. Quote. The high platform is surrounded by disciples of Taizan sect. Everyone is looking forward to it. 99% of these disciples support Su Chen. Only 1% supported Shang Ying, but they dared not speak out directly. After all, the matter of the inner disciples debate at Qingshu Peak yesterday has spread throughout the sect, and everyone knows the horror of Su Chen's supporters. Especially the group of junior sisters headed by He Jing, they are very good at speaking. The reason why Su Chen has so many supporters is because of his good reputation in the past. On the other hand, Shang Ying only had the support of a few people, all because of his notoriety. Boom. At this time, the high platform shook suddenly. Immediately afterwards, a majestic figure descended from the sky and landed heavily on the center of the high platform. He was carrying a dark iron rod, black-haired waist, and his body was full of explosive aura. Where's Su Chen? Shang Ying Gao stood on the high platform, his eyes were staring, and his tone was flamboyant. He has practiced for decades, and the city is still very deep. He doesn't take some rumors to heart, and even has some expectations. Looking forward to defeating Su Chen later, what will be the expressions of those who support Su Chen? Thinking of this, Shang Ying couldn't hold back the excitement in her heart. I was here early, you came too late. A gentle and flat voice sounded from behind Shang Ying. Hearing this, Shang Ying was startled, and turned around abruptly, her expression extremely ugly. He was still provocative just now, and he didn't notice Su Chen coming behind him at all. If Su Chen had just made a move, I'm afraid he would have lost by now. Shang Ying's clumsy performance caused a burst of laughter from the audience. The piercing laughter reached Shang Ying's ears, making his complexion even more ugly. He didn't think Su Chen was giving him a chance by not making a move just now. Quite the opposite. In his opinion, this seemed to be deliberately humiliating himself. Thinking of this, Shang Ying narrowed her eyes slightly, staring at Su Chen fiercely like a poisonous snake, and said in a cold tone. Very good. I hope you can remain so calm later. Say it. He took a deep breath and took a step back. Boom. The black iron rod behind Shang Ying suddenly grew bigger, and fell to the ground with a loud bang. A radiant divine light bloomed on it, several feet long. The black iron rod releases boundless killing intent, which makes people shudder. It's hard to imagine how many people died under this stick to form such a terrifying power. Even the green-robed elder next to him couldn't help frowning slightly when he saw this scene in front of him. Die! Shang Ying shouted violently. As the sound fell, he stepped forward, turning into a stream of light and rushing towards Su Chen. A terrifying and violent aura swept out, like a vast ocean, surging across the high platform. The killing intent shot straight into the sky, the infinite spirit power condensed together and turned into a beam of light reaching the sky, and the black iron rod seemed to be able to shatter the void, and ruthlessly fell towards Su Chen. The shattering black iron rod that seems to be able to break everything made everyone's hearts jump. Master, do you think Su Chen can beat Xiang Ying? Looking at Xiang Ying's terrifying power, Mu Qingxie, who was hiding behind a big tree watching the battle in the distance, asked in her heart. Originally, she had been preparing for the awakening of her physique these days, but after hearing that Su Chen had participated in the core discipline assessment, she put down what she was doing and came to watch. She was curious whether Su Chen could complete double jumps in 1 month. At the same time, I am also very curious about Su Chen's current strength. Half a month has passed, and she has already broken through the Qi Si realm 3rd stage. I don't know how many times Su Chen has reached the Qi Si realm again. The victory and defeat have been decided. An old female voice sounded faintly in her mind. Accompanied by her voice fell. Su Chen, who was originally calm, suddenly took a step forward. The white robe fluttered under the strong wind, and the long hair fluttered. He had almost no extra movements, just a casual punch. However, it was such a simple punch, but it contained immense power. The terrifying power of qi and blood erupted in an instant, turning into a blood-red dragon, wrapped around Su Chen's arm, and rushed out roaring. Boom! There were loud noises. The blood-red long dragon, which was completely condensed by the power of qi and blood, collided with the black iron rod, making a deafening roar. The divine light bloomed, and instantly flooded the entire high platform. The power of the black iron rod overwhelmed everything, and it swept out in all directions, as if it wanted to break all obstacles. Even the high platform that has experienced countless battles has countless splits at this moment, and it looks precarious, as if it will collapse at any time. What is the ending? Who won? There are dazzling lights everywhere, and I can't open my eyes at all. So who actually won? Wait online, I'm in a hurry. Did any brother tell me who won? Quote. Just when everyone was curious about the results of the competition on the high platform. Boom! Just then, there was a loud noise. Immediately afterwards, a tattered figure fell from the high platform. Many disciples opened their eyes when they heard the loud noise, and hurriedly surrounded it. But when they saw the Taoist figure clearly, everyone gasped. Hiss! Xiang Ying, who used to be extremely flamboyant, now has not a single piece of her body intact. The black iron stick in his hand has long since disappeared, leaving only a small section in his hand. His chest was even sunken from the beating, and his ribs were broken. Everyone was shocked and their scalps were numb. They have full confidence in Su Chen and think he will definitely win. But they didn't expect that Su Chen would win so neatly. Not to mention that Xiang Ying would lose so quickly. Seeing him like this, even the divine armament, which had been sacrificed for many years, was completely broken. Future. I'm afraid there is no future. Elder, it's time to announce the result. Su Chen looked as usual, quietly standing on the high platform, and said calmly to the green-robed elder. Oh well. The blue-robed elder recovered from the shock after hearing the words, and then took a deep look at Su Chen. At this moment, there is only one sentence in his mind for Su Chen. This son is so terrifying. With just one punch, he defeated Xiang Ying, who had been working in the inner sect for 20 years. You know, Xiang Ying has been cultivating in the Qi Si realm 9th stage for more than 10 years, and even the strong in the early stage of the God stage realm dare not underestimate his strength. But such an existence was defeated by Su Chen's punch, and from Su Chen's appearance, he seemed to be able to handle it with ease. It's hard to imagine, how terrifying would he be if he shot with all his strength. For a while, the Qingpao elder suddenly remembered a sentence that has been circulated in the elder layer recently. Su Chen looks like a great emperor. He didn't believe it at first, thinking that the other elders were boasting too much. Now it seems that Su Chen really looks like a great emperor. Open black lens bracket Great Emperor's pose, 20/1W close black lens bracket. At the same time, the virtual panel in front of Su Chen's eyes suddenly rose. Su Chen frowned slightly, glanced at the many disciples present, and found that no one boasted that he had the appearance of a great emperor. Not a disciple. Could it be an elder? Su Chen's mind moved, and then his eyes fell on the blue-robed elder. Seeing his dignified expression and secretly nodding from time to time, Su Chen realized instantly. It turned out that after a long time, the appearance of the great emperor was blown out by the elders, right? Shaking his head helplessly, Su Chen closed the virtual panel. The posture of the great emperor is the same as the addition of great luck, it needs to be accumulated slowly over time, there is no rush. Ahem. The green-robed elder who came back to his senses coughed lightly, casually glanced at Shang Ying who fell out of the high platform, came to the center of the high platform, looked at the many shocked disciples below, and said loudly. In the first round, Su Chen wins. Brother Su Chen. In the crowd, Cao Yun's expression changed, and he gave a loud shout. Su Chen's punch can be regarded as a refreshment for their supporters. Thinking of the scene of the debate in Qingshu Peak yesterday, the smiles on the faces of Cao Yun, He Jing and others became more intense. Following Cao Yun's shout, it appeared. All of a sudden, the many disciples below the high platform all boiled up and shouted. Su Chen standing on the high platform glanced at Cao Yun in the crowd and shook his head slightly. Seeing his flushed face at the moment, those who didn't know thought he had defeated Shang Ying. But, for Cao Yun, He Jing, and the disciples who supported Su Chen in the outer sect, Su Chen's defeat of Shang Ying had the same effect as their defeat. Next, Su Chen's competition was a lot easier, almost every time he came on stage, the opponent immediately surrendered. Until the last game, a brother from Qi Si Realm 9th stage wanted to fight Su Chen with the attitude of giving it a try. Naturally, the result was as expected, and it was still a one-stroke defeat. So far, Su Chen won the first place in this year's core discipline competition. At the same time, he also obtained the status of core disciple. The blue-robed elder on the edge of the platform strode towards Su Chen with a smile on his face, and said, "Congratulations, Martial Nephew Su. Nephew Su's core disciples' clothes and identity jade badge have been placed in the Great Hall at the rear, you can go and get them at will." "Thanks, elder." Su Chen cupped his hands slightly and thanked him. Then, under countless admiring and respectful eyes, he stepped off the high platform and came to the Great Hall behind. Enter the Great Hall. In front of him was a slender figure with gray hair and a back figure in elder clothes that instantly attracted Su Chen's attention. Su Chen looked at the back in front of him, slightly startled. He is still very familiar with this figure. Van Elder. Su Chen looked at the back in front of him and murmured softly. Standing in front of him was none other than Van Elder, who killed tens of thousands of dark creatures that day. Su Chen at this moment is full of doubts. Logically speaking, Van Elder is not in charge of the core discipline competition. He appeared here today. No matter how you look at it, something is wrong. Could it be that he came to accept himself as a disciple? There has always been a rule in Taizan sect, as long as you become a core disciple, you can choose an elder to apprentice. Certainly, elders can also choose their favorite core disciples and accept them as apprentices. Once the core disciple successfully worships elder as his teacher, his identity will automatically change from core disciple to true disciple. In fact, there is no difference in treatment between core disciples and true disciples. The only difference is that one has a master and the other does not. If Su Chen didn't have a system, he would definitely choose Fan Elder in front of him as his teacher without hesitation. It's a pity that he has a system. Moreover, he didn't think these Van Elders in front of him could teach him much in terms of practice. Instead of worshipping the other party as a teacher and making him doubt life every day, it is better to practice alone. At least when practicing alone, you can feel at ease, and you can go wherever you want. If you are a teacher, you don't have such freedom, and you have to report every sect. Nephew Su. At this time, Fan Elder turned around slowly, looked Su Chen up and down, and said with satisfaction and admiration. From inner discipline to core discipline in just 1 month, at such a speed, throughout the entire history of Taizan sect, you are still the first. Hearing this, Su Chen suppressed the confusion in his heart and said with a smile, "It's all taught by sect." Van Elder smiled heartily, shook his head, and said, "I don't agree with your words. I know what kind of genius Tai Xuanzong can teach me. You were stunned for a moment when you entered the door just now, but you thought the old man came here today to accept you as an apprentice." Speaking of which, Fan Elder glanced at Su Chen with some deep meaning. There was a bit of hope in his eyes, but also a bit of helplessness. If Su Chen really worships him as his teacher, it will be the most glorious thing in his life. After all, after entering inner sect for just 1 month, he became a core discipline. If this speed of cultivation continues, what will it be like 10 years from now? Moreover, the person in front of him is the first Tianzhao who has stepped into the forbidden realm in the Qi-gathering realm since the creation of Taizan sect. But at the same time, Van Elder himself knew that with his strength, he might not be able to teach Su Chen. Therefore, his eyes are very complicated. He had both the surprise after seeing a genius and the helplessness that he suddenly found himself unable to teach after seeing a genius. Van Elder really has sharp eyesight, and this disciple really thought so just now. Su Chen nodded lightly and said, "Sincerity is always nirvana." Sure enough, Van Elder's expression changed when he heard this, and he tentatively asked, "Then you are?" He wanted to ask Su Chen what he thought. But before he finished speaking, he suddenly laughed at himself, waved his hands, and said, "This old man still doesn't ask for insults. A few days ago, even Sect himself said that even if he took you as a disciple, he would have nothing to teach you. If the old man accepts you as an apprentice, I'm afraid it will delay your cultivation. Elder's words are too modest. With your strength, it is not an exaggeration to teach a young great emperor." Hearing what Fan Elder said, Su Chen felt relieved. Ha ha ha. Fan Elder smiled heartily again, patted Su Chen on the shoulder and said, "I didn't expect nephew Su Xian to have such a side. Previously, the old man thought you were very arrogant like other celestial beings. Since that's the case, the old man won't talk nonsense anymore." Speaking of this, Van Elder's expression suddenly became serious, and he said solemnly, "The old man came to see you today, and there are two things in total." "Say it." Van Elder flipped his palm, and a tray appeared in his palm. On it was a purple shirt, a jade tablet and a blue long sword. "The first thing is to give you this core disciple's costume, the identity jade token, and the low-grade spirit treasure I just refined from the corpse of a dark creature." Su Chen's eyes lit up when he heard this, and his attention was completely attracted by the blue long sword. "Thanks, Elder." He cupped his hands slightly, then took the tray. "Low-grade Ling Bao, this is a treasure that only inner sect elders can have. Moreover, it is still made from the corpses of dark creatures. I am afraid that ordinary middle-grade spirit treasures are not as valuable as this long sword. I won't talk about the status jade badge and clothing, it's the same as the inner discipline. But this low-grade spirit treasure still needs you to recognize the owner with a drop of blood and name it." Van Elder looked at Su Chen in front of him and explained. "The disciple understands." Su Chen nodded quickly, and immediately forced out a drop of blood essence to make the blue long sword in front of him recognize its owner. The moment the blood essence dripped, the cyan long sword shook violently. A terrifying sword intent diffused from the blade. Endless divine brilliance erupted from the blade of the cyan long sword. As soon as Su Chen's expression moved, the cyan long sword turned into a stream of light and penetrated into his body. "Then I'll call you Guyan." Seeing the blue long sword lying on On Chi Si, Su Chen murmured softly. "Guyan, what a name." Seeing Su Chen put away the blue long sword, Xie Elder praised it. Afterwards, his expression paused, and he continued to talk eloquently. "The second thing. Sect needs you to go to Emperor City. Extreme Emperor City." Hearing this, Su Chen repeated in surprise, raised his head and looked at Fan Elder in confusion. "The reason for this, as long as it is because Wangji City still has a name, it is the imperial city of the Great Chu dynasty. The Great Chu dynasty ruled tens of millions of miles, and within the territory of Great Chu, there are almost a dozen people as powerful as Tai Xuanzong. Among the dozen or so, there are 2 or 3 parties that are half a chip stronger than Tai Xuanzong." "Good." Van Elder saw Su Chen's doubts, and explained. "The Emperor of Great Chu issued an edict a few days ago, inviting all Tianzhao who are under the age of 23 in the territory of Great Chu and who have cultivated to the Qi Si realm to go to Wangji City for a competition. The top 450 in the competition can enter the 100-demon battlefield. If one can cultivate to Qi Si realm 7th stage or above under the age of 23. Speaking of which, Fan Elder's eyes fell on Su Chen again, and he said slowly, "You can skip the competition and directly get a qualification to enter the 100-demon battlefield." Oh, Su Chen's eyes lit up when he heard this. Qi Si realm 7th stage and above can directly obtain the qualification to enter the 100-demon battlefield. Doesn't that mean that I don't have to participate in the competition? This is a good thing, at least it saves me a lot of effort and time. Sect leader means that you will lead the team to Wangji City this time, and the old man will accompany you to protect your safety. Van Elder said with a smile. After all, looking at the entire Taizan sect, you are the strongest under the age of 23. Once you enter the 100-demon battlefield, you can take care of other disciples if you have free time. In the end, Van Elder's voice gradually became dignified. This time, a decree issued by the Great Chu Emperor caused almost all the forces in the entire Great Chu dynasty to move upon hearing the news. At that time, Tianzhou will be like a crucian carp crossing the river. Countless arrogances gathered in Wangji City, Su Chen might be able to handle them with ease. But not necessarily others. Tai Xuanzong had just experienced the invasion of dark creatures, suffered heavy losses, and could no longer withstand any blows. If some disciples are falling at this juncture, Tai Xuanzong will really lose his acceptance. At that time, these elders will be the eternal sinners of the Taizan sect. Besides, the Promise sect will also go to Wangji City this time. When the two sects meet, what kind of moths will appear if they are not kept together? Fan Elder, please rest assured, this disciple will do his best not to disappoint Elder and sect. Su Chen took a deep breath and said in a deep voice. Good. Van Elder nodded in satisfaction, and said gratifiedly, with your words, it is enough. He is still very assured of Su Chen's strength. Looking at the entire territory of the Great Chu dynasty, with all the forces added up, I am afraid that there are not many Tianzhou who can compare with him. Even if it is, the princes of the Great Chu dynasty may not be Su Chen's opponents in the same realm. With his action, Tai Xuanzong might be able to reduce the number of disciples who fell. As for not dying, neither Van Elder nor sect thought about it, nor dared to think so. After all, there is no free lunch in this world. It is impossible to take advantage of others without killing one or two people. Once entering the 100 demons battlefield, any secular constraints will become invalid. At that time, whether you can get a chance and come out alive depends on your personal good fortune. You need to cultivate well in the past 2 days. Sect still needs to finalize other candidates to go to the 100-demon battlefield. I will let you know before departure. Van Elder said with a smile. The disciple will leave first. Su Chen cupped his hands and saluted, then turned and left. At the same time, thousands of miles away from Tai Xuanzong, in an ancient secret realm. This place is surrounded by clouds and fog, and the spiritual qi is extremely rich. In the depths of the clouds and mist, Chonglo Yuyu looms, like an immortal realm. Logically speaking, there should be a terrifying force in such a supreme treasure land. But this place is dead silent, there is no sound, the quietness is creepy. It seems that under this quiet and peaceful surface, there is some huge terrorist crisis hidden. At the same time, this place has become a Jedi, no one dares to set foot. At this moment, a burst of mysterious fluctuations suddenly came. In the depths of the clouds and mist, thousands of divine lights burst out, and auspiciousness descended from the sky, turning this place into a sea of brilliance. The waves overlap, among them are the real dragons soaring into the air, the white tiger tramples on them, and roars to the sky. I don't know how long it lasted, the brilliance gradually faded, and a hazy figure covered his body like a moonlight, and the whole person was as real as an illusion. It's right in front of you, but it feels like it's far away. But even so, she still gives people a feeling of flawlessness. It's finally Qi Si Realm 8th stage. A cold voice sounded. She has a graceful body, as if she is sitting in a palace under the shroud of various divine lights, sacred as incomparable. If Su Chen was here, he would definitely recognize him at a glance. This person is Yi Rushui, who parted from Su Chen in the Saint's secret realm. At this moment, Yi Rushui has undergone earth-shaking changes. In just 1 month, she rushed from Qi Gathering Realm 9th stage to Qi Si Realm 8th stage. Such a speed of practice can shock everyone's 3 views. True Dragon Blood Essence and White Tiger Blood Essence have been obtained, but if you want to condense the 4 divinities' sacred body, you also need Vermilion Bird Blood Essence and Black Tortoise Blood Essence. Yi Rushui frowned slightly, her crystal eyes revealing memories. In the previous life, Yi Rushui relied on the 4 divinities' sacred body to catch up with the latecomers, surpassing countless arrogances at once, and thus standing on the top of the world. It can be said that four divinities' sacred body is the key to her rise. But this physique also has a fatal flaw. If it is not present at birth, it will be difficult to form it the day after tomorrow. In her last life, Yi Rushui also obtained a secret method by chance. Just by citing the blood essence of the four divine beasts, the foundation of the four divinities' sacred body can be formed. In her previous life, she didn't find the four divine beasts' blood essence, so she could only use some demonic beast's blood essence containing the divine beast bloodline instead. Although in the end she still completed the four divinities' sacred body, she also took a lot of detours. If she can avoid those detours, her rise will be even faster and more unstoppable. Now that she has the experience of the previous life, she started off very smoothly in this life. In a short period of time, 2 kinds of beast blood essence have been obtained. Not very strong, but stronger than the normal blood essence of demonic beasts. If I remember correctly, in 1 month's time, the Great Chu Dynasty's 100 Demon battlefield will open. The 100 Demons battlefield seems to contain vermilion bird blood essence. Yi Rushui began to calculate in her heart according to the memory of her previous life. At this moment, her strength has reached the Qi realm 8th stage. Although she does not have the blessing of the four divinities' sacred body, her physique has changed drastically after obtaining the true dragon blood essence and white tiger blood essence. It would not be an exaggeration to call her the arrogance of the sky. Now her talent should not be much different from Mu Qingshe, who has not activated her physique. With her cultivation base of Qi realm 8th stage, the early stage of the ordinary god stage realm is not her opponent at all. Not to mention, she also arranges formation. Once she is allowed to successfully set up a killing formation, she has absolute confidence to single out 10 early stage powerhouses. But if you want to enter the battlefield of 100 monsters, you will be in trouble. Unfortunately, if there is a sect as the background, maybe it will be easier, but if you want to appear on the 100 Demons battlefield as rogue cultivators. When Yi Rushui said this, her expression was a little dazed. Now she can be counted as rogue cultivators. Although there is the Yi family behind her, compared to those sects, the Yi family seems a little out of reach. It didn't help Yi Rushui at all. Even if the Emperor of Great Chu issued an edict, it would not be issued to the Yi family. Because their Yi family is far from having that qualification. In this case, if you want to enter the battlefield of 100 monsters, you can only rely on own means. Yi Rushui narrowed her light blue eyes slightly, and murmured in a low voice. Perhaps, my only chance to enter the 100 Demons battlefield lies with the 9 princesses of the Great Chu dynasty. Last life. The strength of the contemporary Great Chu Emperor is terrifying, and he is the cultivation base at the peak of the sub-saint realm, only 1 step away from the saint realm. During the 1,000 years of his reign, he had many children under his knees. But if it is said who is the most outstanding, it must be the first prince and the 9th princess. Both of these two are outstanding people in their lifetime, and they will gain a great reputation in the future. If you can catch the line of the 9 princesses of Da Chu now, then entering the battlefield of 100 monsters will not be a problem at all. The real identity of the 9 princesses of the Great Chu dynasty is the saintess of the Promised Demon sect, but at present, this secret should not have been exposed. Maybe I can use this to exchange it with him, maybe I can get a place to enter the 100 monsters battlefield. Yi Rushui knew. The current stage should be a stage where the 9 princesses and the eldest prince are competing with each other, and both of them want to be the Emperor of Chu. On the face of it, the current first prince has already overwhelmed the 9th princess. But in fact, the 9 princesses have the support of the Promised Demon sect behind them, so they are not far behind. This situation lasted until 100 years later, when the identity of the 9 princesses as the saintess of the Promised Demon sect was revealed, and the first prince became the Great Chu prince with an overwhelming advantage. Later, he ascended the throne and became the new Great Chu emperor. After he came to power, his ambitions exploded in full swing. Suppressing sect internally, expanding the territory externally, and even almost destroying the neighboring Great Shang dynasty. Surprisingly, at the last moment of the Great Shang dynasty, a female emperor suddenly appeared. As soon as the empress appeared, she showed unparalleled talent and terrifying strength. She led the expedition in person, turned the tide, helped the building to collapse, and led millions of troops to counterattack. In the end, he forcibly hit the Great Chu Wangji city. Yi Rushui was not particularly clear about what happened afterwards. Because at that time, she had already perfected the four divinities' sacred body, left Eastern Wasteland, and went to Zhongzhou, where the heavenly pride was like a cloud. However, even if there is only these, it is enough for her. After all, the future affairs between Great Chu and the Great Shang dynasty have nothing to do with her. At the moment, all she needs is a drop of vermilion bird blood essence. The ninth princess should be at the peak of the divine stage realm, only one step away from the divine sea realm. If I can help her become a strong person in the divine sea realm, then entering the 100 monsters battlefield will not be a problem. Thinking of this, Yi Rushui slowly stood up. She has a beautiful body, a perfect figure, and a slender waist that cannot be grasped. At this time, she was standing on a high platform, her eyes swept around. This is also a place of opportunity, and it is not yet the time of birth. But she came in early, and it was in it that she got a drop of white tiger blood essence. And there's a lot of good stuff here besides white tiger blood essence. For example, she remembered that there was still a bottle of Shen Hayden. Shanghai pill is a medicine pill that can break through the divine sea realm, and each pill can increase the chance of breaking through the divine sea realm by 3 layers. This kind of medicine pill is not comparable to that of Hua Hayden. To the outside world, it can be said that there is a price but no market. It can be said that it is more than enough to exchange such a medicine pill for the qualification to enter the 100-demon battlefield. The problem right now is that if he takes the Shanghai pill to find the 9th princess, although there is a probability that he will get the qualification to enter the 100 demons battlefield. But the greater possibility is to be murdered to seize the treasure. After all, the 9 princesses are not good men and women. She is the saintess of the Promised Demon sect, and she can get a divine sea pill for killing a stranger. For her, there is no psychological pressure at all. On the contrary, I will be happy to do it. If you want to avoid this situation, you need to prepare more whole cards. At the very least, the 9th princess must not dare to attack her at will, so as to ensure her own safety. This opportunity is the ruins of the ancient heavenly puppet sect. I remember that when it appeared in the previous life, there seemed to be 2 puppets from the divine sea realm that attracted countless people to compete. If I can find those 2 puppets, it will be more than enough to protect myself. Yi Rushui's lavender eyes lightly glanced at the depths of the great hall. It was the only place I had never set foot on. If there is really a complete puppet left, it must be in the great hall. If you meet him in the secret realm. There was splendor in Yi Rushui's beautiful lavender eyes. In her mind, she once again thought of the large figure that sheltered herself in her arms during the saint's chants, and her cheeks blushed slightly involuntarily. Last time he protected himself. Then this time, it's time to protect him by myself. Thinking that the 2 were about to meet again, Yi Rushui's mouth couldn't help but twitched into a slight smile at his shocked gaze. She clearly remembered that when the 2 separated, Su Chen was just Qi Si Realm 3rd stage. If there are no accidents, Su Chen should still be standing still. However, he is not what he used to be. Cultivation base completely surpassed him. With the current cultivation base plus the experience and memory of the previous life, Yi Rushui has absolute confidence at this moment. Even if several experts in the altar realm join forces, she will not be afraid at all. Even if she didn't use formation, she didn't think she would lose against Su Chen, who was a month ago. Even the possibility of winning will be greater. If formation is used, then Su Chen will have no chance of winning. This is the confidence of her rebirth. It just so happens that there are 2 puppets here. If I can meet him in the 100 monsters battlefield, I will give him one. Yi Rushui thought so in her heart. As he thought about it, his steps became much lighter. As for whether Su Chen would go to the 100 demons battlefield, she never considered it. Su Chen in the previous life did not enter the 100 demons battlefield. To be precise, he didn't even appear in Wangji City. But it's hard for him not to think about it in this life. Because Su Chen's strength is Qi Si Realm 3rd stage, even if he doesn't want to go, Tai Xuanzong will not agree. After all, there are not many young geniuses who can defeat the Qi Si Realm 7th stage at the Qi Si Realm 3rd stage, in the entire Tai Zan sect. Thinking of the 2 meeting soon, Yi Rushui's heart beat faster. Yi Rushui pressed her chest with one hand, feeling On's heartbeat. For some reason, she suddenly felt a feeling that she had never experienced in her previous life. It's a kind of the feeling of rapid heartbeat. Indescribable, indescribable. Yi Rushui put down her hands with a blushing pretty face, turned her head and looked in Tai Xuanzong's direction. A sweet smile appeared on the corner of her mouth, and Su Chen's back appeared involuntarily in her mind. Afterwards, she restrained the expression on her face, tried hard to get her mood back to normal, then turned and walked towards the depths of the great hall, ready to find the two puppets. Only when those two puppets are found, will the party on the 100 Monsters battlefield be guaranteed. Not just for her alone, but also for Su Chen. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, time passed by the two of them. Tai Xuanzong held an interdiscipline competition within these 2 days. The condition is that they are under the age of 23 and above the Qi realm. As long as they meet the standard, anyone can participate. After 2 days of intense selection, in the end, the top 50 disciples were selected. 30 of these 50 are above Qi realm 5th stage, and the remaining 20 are below Qi realm 5th stage. Accompanied by a round of great sun slowly rising in Tai Xuanzong. It was a disc-shaped low-grade flying spirit treasure. At this time, its power was fully released, and thousands of rays of light shot out, making people afraid to look directly at it. The 50 selected inner disciples all stood on the disc, all gearing up, their faces full of anticipation. They know, in this trip, they will compete with the top Tianzhao in the entire Great Chu territory. If he performed well, he might even be rewarded by the royal family of Great Chu. The Great Chu dynasty is not an ordinary force, and the things they reward are not ordinary, and anything can attract countless people to fight. Front of the disc, Van Elder stood with his hands behind his back, turned to look at an inner disciple beside him and asked, "Has that kid Su Chen arrived yet?" "Brother Su Chen has just been notified, and he should be here soon." The inner disciple replied respectfully. His voice just fell. A white figure appeared on the disc, gradually solidifying. No one could see how he appeared, as if he came out of the void, or appeared out of thin air. Seeing this scene, many inner disciples were shocked. "Junior is delayed, I hope Elder is not to blame." Coming to the disc, Su Chen immediately arched his cupped hands towards Fan Elder. "Not bad, but I haven't seen you for 2 days, and my strength has improved." Van Elder looked at Su Chen in front of him, very satisfied. At a glance, he could see that Su Chen was a sign that he had reached a small level of magic walking. Afterwards, Van Elder withdrew his gaze, looked straight ahead, took a deep breath, and said, "Set off." Boom. As his voice fell, the disc made a roar. The sun-like disc instantly tore through the void, turning into a streak of light and disappearing into the sky. 15 days later, Emperor City. A majestic city is lying on the ground like an ancient beast. The city wall of the city is thousands of miles long, and it has been standing here for an unknown number of years, full of vicissitudes. This majestic city is the imperial capital of the Great Chu dynasty, Wangji City. Today's Wangji City is extremely lively. Everyone knows that there will be a competition in Wangji City in the near future, but any arrogance within the territory of the Great Chu dynasty can participate. Of course, this is just a statement on the surface. Actually, if you don't have a certain background, if you are just a rogue cultivators, no one will talk to you at all. After all, the Great Chu royal family is not a charity. The secret realm of the 100 demon battlefield in their hands is extremely precious, and it is impossible to open it to everyone. Now, the opening to other sects is just to see the top talents in these sects in recent years. But even so, there are still countless people rushing desperately. The purpose of these people is also very clear. Since you can't participate, it's not a good choice to watch the excitement. At this moment, hold head high. A sky-shattering dragon chant came from outside Wangji City. At the far end of the sky, a flood dragon is like a mountain range, pressing across the sky and earth, casting a large shadow in the void. For a while, everyone felt a heavy pressure, which made everyone a little out of breath. In the position of the dragon head, 2 Taoist shadows stand side by side. One is a stooped old man with gray hair. But he was full of energy, his eyes were as sharp as the eyes of an eagle, and he looked forward with a terrifying aura. Beside him is a young man. He was dressed in golden armor, heroic and majestic, and his eyes were as sharp as a sword. Hiss, I'm afraid this flood dragon is about to return to its ancestors. Yes, Its dragon power is terrifying. I guess it is at least the peak of the altar realm. Using the dragon at the peak of the altar realm as a mount, the only one who can make such a big deal is the beast master of the Wuji sect, right? That's right, it's the beast familiar of the Wuji sect. Have you seen those two people standing on the dragon's head? See, who are they? One of them is the elder of the beast monitoring lineage of the Wuji sect, and the other is probably Situ Feng, who has recently become famous in the beast monitoring sect. Situ Feng, is that the genius who contracted a Qi Si realm 3rd stage with bloodline demonic beasts? That's right, it's him. His demonic beasts with Changqi bloodline are said to have been cultivated to the Qi Si realm 6th stage, and their strength is terrifying. I've also heard that even a strong man from the Qi Si realm 9th stage can't help him, and he can even compete with a strong man from the early stage. If there is no accident, this person will be number 1 in this competition. The appearance of the Promise sect made the entire Wangji city boil. Especially Situ Feng's Tianzhao, who has been praised by countless people. After all, the beast familiar lineage of the Wuji sect is different from other sects. Their own combat power may not be very powerful, the main combat power is to rely on the demonic beasts they have contracted. The demonic beasts contracted by Situ Feng is pregnant with Jiyu Changqi bloodline, and his own strength is not weak, so many people think that he is the favorite to win this competition. Although the royal family of Great Chu has not clearly stated the reward for the first place in this competition. But certainly not too bad. Just as countless people were talking about Situ Feng, the Tianzhao of the Promise sect, the surrounding air suddenly dropped. The originally scorching sun slowly disappeared, the surroundings suddenly became cold, and snowflakes floated in the sky. This unreasonable phenomenon made everyone present stunned for a moment, and then their faces were full of confusion. But soon everyone reacted and looked up at the sky. I see. Above the sky, a flying boat shaped like a snow lotus in Tianshan passed through the sky. There are dozens of young girls standing on it, all of them have outstanding demeanor and incomparable beauty, which makes people's imagination run wild. White Lotus Palace. It is said that there are only women in the White Lotus Palace, but I didn't expect it to be true. Have you seen the girl in front of you? I really feel sorry for you. It's a pity that the White Lotus Palace is too mysterious, we don't even know their team leader this time. Is there a possibility that the White Lotus Palace is not because of mystery, but because they really don't have any disciples? Brother, the possibility you said is very low. After all, the White Lotus Palace has inherited the power of 1,000 years. They dare to come here this time, they must have a certain amount of confidence. Well, I agree with what Shangtai said. Maybe the White Lotus Palace will become a blockbuster and win the first place in this competition. After the Promise sect and the White Lotus Palace appeared one after another, the rest of the sects also appeared one after another as promised. Every sect's appearance can attract bursts of amazement in Wangji City. After a full hour, boom, a piercing sound came. At the end of the sky, a round of scorching sun rose slowly, blooming with myriad divine lights. At this moment, even the scorching sun hanging above the sky was dimmed. The dazzling light fell, and everyone had to cover their eyes. Of course, some people choose to use their eyesight to look towards the sky. I see. Standing above the scorching sun was a figure in a purple robe. He is tall and slender, with a face like a crown of jade, 2 sword-shaped eyebrows slanted into his temples, and his robe flutters as if he has descended from an exile. An indescribable unparalleled charm emanated from him. Is this the evildoer of Tai Xuanzong? What Taizan sect evildoer? Why haven't I heard of it? Brother, are you a little too ignorant? Some time ago, there was a genius in the Taizan sect, and he stepped into the forbidden realm in the Qi gathering realm. Moreover, this monstrous Tianzhao personally beheaded 3 dark creatures a month ago. Do you know what kind of existence dark creatures are? They are extraterrestrial creatures. The same rank is invincible and hard to kill. But this person has killed 3 heads in a row with his own strength, and his combat power is unimaginable. If Situ Feng is the one with the strongest overall strength in this competition, then Su Chen from the Taizan sect is definitely the one with the most amazing talent that day. In time, I'm afraid that the entire Great Chu will not be able to control this real dragon to take off. Hiss. Hearing what you said, this Su Chen is really terrifying. On top of Tai Xuanzong's flying Ling Bao. Listening to the remarks below, Su Chen's mouth twitched slightly. Before time travel, when he was reading novels, he often wondered why people who eat melons would know so many things. At this moment, he finally understood. Half a month ago, Tai Xuanzong spread some of his deeds. In the words of Van Elder, this is called building momentum. But in Su Chen's view, this is more like an advertisement. He is the spokesperson, and there is no endorsement fee. If he can perform amazingly in the 100 Demons battlefield during this trip, then Tai Xuanzong can also use this to make a good publicity. Maybe, when recruiting disciples in the coming year, many good seedlings can be recruited. Su Chen stood on top of the flying Lingbao, and glanced lightly at the capital of the Great Chu dynasty. The entire city is surrounded by towering walls, and there are still traces of various weapons on it, just like the traces left by endless years on this majestic giant beast. An inexplicable aura emanated that shook people's hearts. Beside him, Mu Qingshe stood quietly on the same spot, looking at the city in front of him like an ancient beast. Her light blue eyes sparkled with amazement. At this moment, the flying spirit treasure suddenly accelerated, piercing the sky and crossing the city wall. Entering Wangji City, the royal family of Great Chu has already arranged residences for each section. After finding the exclusive area of Taizan sect, Fan Elder let the other disciples disperse, leaving Su Chen alone. Elder, do you have any orders? Su Chen asked curiously. Well, there are indeed some things that I need to tell you. Van Elder looked serious. His divine sense spread out, covering the exclusive area of Tai Xuanzong in an instant, and after shielding outsiders from probing, he opened his mouth and said, "Someone should come to invite you to a banquet later on. You must agree to go, but when you arrive at the place, you must abide by your own position and don't easily express your own attitude and position." Oh, Su Chen frowned, but soon it stretched out and understood what Van Elder meant. In the secular world, there are still struggles for power and profit. Naturally, the fantasy world is no exception, and the competition is more ruthless. Because the stronger the strength, the higher the status, the more resources you have. And the more resources you have, the more you can make yourself go further. If there is no accident, the person that Fan Elder invited to own should be a member of the royal family of Chu. After all, he is now considered a well-known Tianzhao. A Tianzhao definitely has the qualifications to be wooed. Among the royal family of Great Chu, the eldest prince and the 9 princesses are facing each other, and only these 2 have the qualifications to become the next emperor. But neither of them is easy to get along with. Nephew, you must be careful. Van Elder thought about it for a while, and he was still a little worried. The disciple knows. Su Chen nodded slightly. The voice just fell. Not far away, a servant in palace attire hurried towards this side. Seeing the visitor, Su Chen and Fan Elder looked at each other, and said in their hearts at the same time, "Coming, Master Su, my patriarch has an invitation, and I hope to show you face." The servant in palace attire came to Su Chen, cupped his hands slightly, and said respectfully, "Lead the way." With Van Elder's instructions, Su Chen spoke directly without any hesitation. As for who the master was in the other party's mouth, Su Chen didn't bother to ask. Anyway, see you soon. Led by the servant in palace attire, the 2 soon arrived outside Tai Xuanzong's area. A chariot was already prepared here. At the invitation of the servant in palace attire, Su Chen sat down with a calm expression. After about a stick of incense, the chariot stopped in front of a tall and majestic mansion. Su Chen got out of the carriage and looked up and down the mansion in front of him. It is not difficult to see that in this mansion, the gods are soaring into the sky, and countless runes are flickering in midair. It contains a formation with extremely terrifying power. Su Chen had a hunch that if this formation was activated, even the powerhouses in the Divine Sea Realm would perish. Su Chen's heart moved, and he narrowed his eyes slightly. The place where he lives can have such a powerful formation. I am afraid that this person's status will not be very low. Even if it wasn't the eldest prince that Fan Elder mentioned, it must be the 9 princesses. Master Su, please follow me. The servant in palace attire came to Su Chen and spoke respectfully. Then stepping on small steps to lead the way ahead. Su Chen raised his heels behind him and walked through several long corridors. Suddenly, a vast blue lake appeared in front of them. In the middle of the lake, a tall palace stands, and there are faint chatter and laughter from inside. Master Su, my patriarch is inside, the young one is of low status, so I send it here, and I hope Mr. Su Haihan. The servant in palace attire had an apologetic face, slightly cupped hands, then turned and left. Su Chen glanced at his back and shook his head slightly. Then he looked up at the tall palace in the center of the lake, narrowed his eyes slightly, and walked slowly towards the palace. Immortal mist shrouds the palace, and divine light flickers, making it look like an immortal realm in the world. A dozen or so Taoist shadows sat down, chatting happily with each other. Behind a jade table, a burly figure dressed in armor picked up the jade cup and sipped it lightly, and said with a light smile. The Su Chen fellow Taoist of Taizan sect hasn't arrived yet. Your Highness, don't worry, I've already sent someone to invite you, and if there are no accidents, they should arrive soon. Below, someone heard the words and quickly replied. I heard that Su Chen fellow Taoist stepped into a forbidden realm in the Qi gathering realm, and I don't know if the rumor is true. Could it be the so-called genius accumulated by Tai Xuanzong with the medicine pill? A young figure twitched the corner of his mouth slightly, and said lightly with some disdain. His whole body was surrounded by divine light, and there was a touch of citric acid in his words. Although he is not more than 20 years old, he has practiced for more than 10 years, and he joined Xuanmingzong when he was a child. But until now, he has only barely reached the Qi realm 5th stage. On weekdays, he often considers himself a genius. But now with the appearance of Su Chen, his pride was completely shattered at once. I have been practicing for more than 10 years before I can't pass the Qi realm 5th stage. But Su Chen is said to have worshipped the Taizan sect at the age of 17, broke through the Qi realm in just a few years, and stepped into the forbidden realm while still in the Qi gathering realm. Such a comparison. His aptitude seemed a little unsightly. The rumors are more than that. I heard that Su Chen fellow Taoist killed 3 dark creatures a month ago. You know, that dark creature hasn't appeared in this world for 10,000 years. Now, as soon as it appeared, it landed in Tai Xuanzong's area, and was killed by Su Chen fellow Taoist. If Su Chen fellow Taoist arrives later, I must ask him carefully, what does the dark creature look like? The man in armor said meaningfully. Most of the dozen or so people present did not believe that Su Chen had ever killed a dark creature. After all, that kind of creature only exists in historical records and has not appeared for a long time. Everyone thinks it is just a legend. Whether there is life outside the world, no one is sure. Maybe, Tai Xuanzong deliberately gilded his disciples. After all, stories like this are very common, and almost every sect is building momentum for their outstanding disciples. But Tai Xuanzong is a bit too exaggerated. Now pull out the dark creatures to create momentum for your disciples. What about after that? In my opinion, that Su Chen is just a fake name. The young man from Xuanmingzong shook his head and said with disdain. But the moment his voice fell, a purple figure suddenly appeared in the palace. If I have a false name, then what are you? A flat voice sounded in the palace. With this sound, the entire great hall fell silent. A majestic man in a light golden robe, with divine light flowing from his body, had 2 divine lights shooting out of his eyes, and took a deep look at Su Chen who suddenly appeared. Although he didn't say a word, he had a kind of deterrence without anger, which made people daunting. Beside him, a woman in a white palace dress has an extraordinary appearance, a slender figure, and is as light as jade. Her body is covered with colorful rays of light, and her hair is radiant and soft, as if she is a stunning beauty in the world. At this time, there was a faint smile on the corner of her mouth, and she looked Su Chen up and down. Similarly, Su Chen also looked at her. There are only 2 people in the whole great hall. One is a man in a light golden robe, and the other is this woman in palace attire. If there is no accident, the 2 of them should be the first prince and 9th princess that Fan Elder mentioned. He is also the one who invited Su Chen. Su Chen. Just as Su Chen was sizing up the 2 people above, there was a loud shout. The young man of Xuanmingzong's face was as frosty, and there was a coldness in the depths of his eyes, and he said in a deep voice. What did you mean by what you just said? Today's banquet was hosted by the eldest prince and 9 princesses of the Chu royal family. Everyone they present not only represents themselves, but also represents the forces behind them. If Su Chen's words spread today, how will they meet people in the future? Literal meaning. Su Chen glanced at him lightly, and said calmly. He had heard all of the conversation between Wuzhizong Situfeng and the young Xuanmingzong just now. Since they choose to arrange themselves behind their backs, there is no need to give them face. The young man from Xuanmingzong suddenly got up when he heard the words, exuding a fierce aura, like a prehistoric beast, wanting to choose and devour someone. However, just as he was about to make a move, a faint voice came from above. Enough. Ninth Princess's vermilion lips parted lightly, and she said two words lightly in her mouth. She couldn't see any fluctuations in her expression on top of her beautiful appearance, but her tone was somewhat displeased. Do you want to do it here? Zan Yun dare not. When the young man of Xuanmingzong heard this, his complexion changed suddenly, and he spoke hastily. Seeing Ji Yu Xuanyan open his mouth, disappointment flickered in the eyes of many Tianzhao present. The people present, except for the two above, are all own opponents. Even if they don't match up today, they will inevitably have to fight after entering the 100 Monsters battlefield. If they can be the first to see the strength of the two leaders of Tai Xuanzong and Xuanmingzong today, it will undoubtedly be beneficial to them. Unfortunately, seeing that the two were about to fight, they were stopped by Princess Ju at the last moment. Tai Xuanzong Su Chen has seen the two highnesses. Su Chen cupped his hands slightly upwards, and said calmly. Afterwards, he looked around, glanced at the leaders of each sect present, and said indifferently, I have seen you fellow Taoists. Seeing this, the others quickly cupped their hands to return the salute, turning a blind eye to Su Chen's indifferent attitude. No matter what happens behind the scenes, there are still some projects that need to be done on the surface, so as not to fall into the limelight. Even Ji Yu Xuanyan returned the gift by staring at the ugly face. Tai Xuanzong's high disciple really lives up to his reputation. Please take a seat. Above, the man in the pale gold robe spoke slowly. His voice is very thick, with the power of a superior. Thank you, Your Highness. Su Chen nodded slightly, and sat down at a random place. After he takes his seat, a man in a blue robe on his left raised his glass to him, showing a friendly smile. The 100 Monsters battlefield is about to open, and this time there are a total of more than a dozen forces present. Since there are sects who are against Tai Xuanzong, there will naturally be sects who are friendly with Tai Xuanzong. The man next to him in a blue robe was obviously from a sect who was on good terms with Tai Xuanzong. The other party was wearing a green robe with a spirit sword embroidered on the cuff. With just one glance, Su Chen knew that the other party was from a sect named Spirit Sword Sect. Seeing the other party's kindness, Su Chen naturally would not refuse. He also raised his glass and nodded slightly. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling face with your hand. Thanks for watching, please like and subscribe.